In this video, we're going to start testing our portrait action inside of Photoshop. So you can see the TIFF files are still exporting, so they're not all done yet. So we're not completely ready for that, but we can get started just trying one of these to start with, just to see how it works with our action. So I'm just going to pick a random TIFF file. This is one that's been generated, and let's drag this into our portrait action. This is a droplet for Photoshop. So it might run a little bit slower because it is also, Capture One is also taking up some processing power as it's generating. But we can run it through. And if you've seen previous tutorials, this is basically the same action that I use. As a baseline, after doing the color grading, I'll run it through this action to run it through some third-party plugins, set up some layers, just get everything ready in the TIFF file for any additional editing that I may need to do. But some of those plugins do run some very minimal editing as well, like just touching up the sharpness just a little bit and adding a little bit of denoise. And in this one, we might want to bring back Luminar. I believe we had taken it out of this portrait action. So let's see if it goes through the process here. It should just run everything as is. It should launch. It looks like it launched it on a different monitor. So let me pull this over here because it did launch. It just launched it over on my Cintiq. So we can see it's processing this inside of Topaz Laz Sharpen, does that on that, creates this denoise layer, again, running through this. And then processing, super minimal denoising, as well as super minimal sharpening. It's just adding a little bit of extra. If you go too far, you can go way too far very, very quickly, but I do like to add just a little bit, usually to each photo. There are some exceptions, of course, but usually just I add such a minimal amount that I'm happy with doing it for each photo. Okay, this looks like it's going, so it's writing the TIFF file, which means that this file here, this is 4076, we should see the size change after this file is done being written. So we can see this and this. This file size will change once it gets saved, because what the action does, if you've seen previous videos where we kind of set up this action, what it does is it saves and then closes the file. So the idea is you can just dump a ton of TIFF files in there, walk away from the computer, and let it run that base, very minimal amount of sharpening and denoise, or whatever sort of things we want, as well as adding all of the frequency separation, our layers that we want, adding any of that to our file, and let the computer basically do some of our editing automatically for us. So it looks like this is going to work successfully. It's taking a while because it is a big file, but it's going to save. And of course, Capture One is still also saving in the background too. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer than usual. But, and I'm okay with that for this one. But if you remember, there were some of the shots that we'll probably want to remove some of the color cast, some of the kind of bluish color cast from shooting into more towards the diffuse light. So this action works fine, but I want to update it, which means we'll have to update the actual action itself and then recreate this executable, this droplet. Now, of course, because this is an executable, I am on a Windows computer. This will only work inside of a Windows computer, of course. If you have a Mac, then that won't work. It looks like our file size should update here any moment now. Maybe I need to go back out. So this is 4076. Go back out, come back in. Okay, well, it didn't really update that. I wonder if it actually saved. Let's open it back up again. and see if it actually saved the, we'll know it's saved if it saved the layers in that file. Or if when we open it, if it has the layers in there. Go, it's loading in the file here. We can see the cursor change, so that means it's loading in the file. There we go. Okay, well, it doesn't have the layers in there, so that means for whatever reason, it seemed to work, but it did not. All right, so no worries. We can come in here and we wanted to add in our Neo anyway, Luminar Neo. So this is the action here, but I'm going to duplicate this, and this is still same version 9, but we're going to do with Luminar Neo because we're going to add that back in. And where we want to add this is after it selects this layer. So let's come in right here where it is. We're going to come in, and then right here we want to add in a stop. So insert stop. That's fine. Stop. So it's going to stop it right there. But the benefit of this, so doing this, it's going to run through, it's going to stop here, and then we'll be able to add it in right in the middle. So let's hit play on this action here. It's going to run through kind of what we just saw running through because it's creating the layers, adding in the little bit of sharpen, the little bit of denoise, and let it run through that process. But it will stop where we want to add in Luminar. And then what we can do is we can hit record, create our Luminar action basically to it, or addendum to the action, I should say. We're not creating a new action, but we're going to add Luminar to it. And then we can just let it continue on after that. So let's let it run. Basically, the first half of the operation, we'll add something into it, and then we'll let it finish the end of the operation there. All right, so it stops here. And this is where it stops. So it selects the Luminar layer, which is what we want. And we're going to delete our stop, come in here to this last one. Now hit record, and then let's come in and add our Luminar. Take a sec to load this. This is, again, a third-party plugin. And this does have some really nice tools in it. You can come back and add in extra things after the fact if you want. But for this one, I'm going to come in and do a little bit of, let's come in, let's go a little bit closer here. So we could do whatever sort of edits that we want. But this, again, is going to be across all of them. So I'm going to do a little bit of skin cleanup, just super, super minimal, because we can always add more later on. And then let's do, I'm trying to remember where it is under here, which lighting setting it's under. This is one of those that I use so minimal to remove the color cast. Warmth, nope, nope, nope. Relight, no. Where is that one? Colorize, nope. Toning. Maybe they changed the name of it. It used to be, no, wait. The color contrast, no. Split warmth, nope, nope, nope. Color balance, no. Maybe they did change the color of it. It used to be just color cast, but admittedly, it has updated since then. So I don't want that contrast on there. So let's see. Okay, well, we might have to add it in after the fact just on those few images. And then play with some of these, because this is not the right image that had that color casting. But that's not, no. Okay, yeah, they must have changed it or something, or changed the name of it. Dehaze, no, nope, hue. Ah, here it is. Remove color cast. All right, under color. All right, sometimes things take a while to find, but that's normal. Okay, so you can see what it's doing, removing the color cast. But actually, you know what? Now that I think about this, as I've gone through that, give me a little bit of time, I'm going to leave that at 0. I am not going to add that edit in here. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and redo this because we don't want it on every single image. So what we're going to do is we're going to, it'll apply that little bit of skin color up, maybe a little bit, slight bit of iris and eye enhancer. So here's an example of what it does. So the eye enhancer, if you crank that, you can see the difference there. I'm just going to do super minimal, just a little bit more. Again, just a little bit of extra added to it. You can see it's super subtle. And then the iris flare, you can see what that does. You can really see it mostly on this side, but different images, of course, are going to affect a little differently. So I'm going to add just a slight touch, super minimal. And then for that color cast, now that we know it's under the color setting, of course, that makes sense now that you think about it. But we'll go ahead and apply this. And then what we'll do is for those few images, since the majority of the images do not need that color cast removal, we'll come back, we'll let these actions run, and then we'll come back on those few images and let it, and then pull open Luminar again to go through that process. Okay, so this is here. So now we can stop this and then let it play through the rest of the rest of everything here, just to make sure it all should go as expected. There's no more errors if we just continue on. So it's saving, and then it should, might not let me scroll down with this, but we should close after that. And then we should get this file larger. It looks like our layers are in place. Everything seems to work there. And once this saves, before we end this, I know this video is running a little bit long, but what we'll do before we wrap this up is we will open this back up again just to make sure. And then the next step of this, you know what, actually, as this is saving, we don't need to sit here and wait for it. I will stop the video here. And then in our next video, because I remembered we do have another step, we want to create the droplet itself. So I'll stop this video here. I'll wait for this to finish saving. And then I'll see you in the next video where we'll double check to make sure everything works with our action. See you there.